What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Off the Backboard. I am your host, Eloy Thomas, and today we're going to be breaking down my top 10 power forwards across the league so far. This is by far one of the most stacked positions across the league, so it was a ton of fun making this list. But before we get into that, I'm going to get into some OTB comments. As y'all know, Ask OTB is a segment on this channel where you can ask me pretty much anything, any sort of NBA question, hot take. Just drop a hashtag AskOTB in the comments along with your question, and there's a chance it might be featured in one of these videos. First question is going to come from Ryan. He asks, who do you think is the rising star of this year's draft class? Now, I'm going to leave out the obvious with Chet and Wemby because I feel like those guys are just levels above the rest of the competition. But you have a lot of cool guys in this draft. Guys like Brandon Miller, Jaime Jaquez, Scoot Henderson has been turning it up as of recently. But the guy that sticks out to me the most, because I feel like I've watched the most of his minutes, is definitely going to be Jaime Jaquez. Now, he's just looked like a Jimmy Butler 2.0, averaging about 14 points per game on the season. He had that 30-point performance on, I think it was on Christmas, I might be mistaken. But he's just looked great for them, man. Currently third in Rookie of the Year voting, and on top of that, he has a fire haircut. Now, this next one isn't exactly a hashtag AskOTB comment or anything like that, but it's just something that I found really interesting. Now, basically, Dwight Howard had posted a TikTok where he said a team of Isaiah Thomas, John Wall, Michael Beasley, DeMarcus Cousins, and himself would be better than this current 2023-2024 Pistons roster, who, by the way, just lost their 28th game straight, so longest losing streak in NBA history. I'm going to have a video on that coming out soon. But basically, I had dropped a comment on that TikTok saying that this team would have been fire in 2016. They would have won 60-plus games, all-star studded roster. But in now's day and age, with all of them being well past their primes, haven't played NBA ball in a while, they would probably be sitting in the same boat with these 2023-2024 Pistons. Just because all great players, but they're out of the league for a reason, right? Now, I dropped this comment. I wasn't expecting it to get any sort of traction, but my TikTok just started blowing up, getting a bunch of likes on it. And then Dwight Howard himself replied and told me that I was capping. Now, I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below if you think that five-man roster of those past All-Stars would be better than this current Pistons roster, or if the Pistons would have their number. You guys already know my opinion on it, but I am genuinely curious, so let me know in the comments down below. As always, before we get into our top 10 list, I just have to give a shout out to a few guys who were really close to making it, but just didn't quite make the cut. First, you have Aaron Gordon, who's having a solid season coming off of that championship. These next two guys, both of them being 20-plus point per game scorers, should just really go to show how stacked this list is, especially with Pascal Siakam. He's a guy who's frequented this list the past few years, but just didn't quite make the cut. You have Jeremy Grant, who signed that massive contract with the Trailblazers this offseason. He's been hooping about 22 points per game. So despite them both having great seasons, they just didn't quite make the list. But without further ado, let's get right into the top 10. And coming in at our number 10 spot, we're going to have Cleveland Cavalier Evan Mobley, who is just having a really solid season for them this far, averaging about 16 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, a block and a half, almost 2 blocks. But a big story for him this season has just been his health, considering he's only played 21 games this year, and he's going to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks because of a left knee surgery. So just really prayers up for the big man. Hopefully he can get back out on the court soon, because he is a massive part of this Cleveland Cavaliers team that needs it badly right now. They haven't been performing up to expectations, and he's a big part of their offense, especially the defense. Like I said, averaging about 2 blocks, 11 rebounds. So hopefully they can get him back soon, but as of right now, he ranks at the number 10 spot. And coming up next at our number 9 spot, we're going to have Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies, who so far is putting up about 21 points, 6 rebounds, and a block and a half. A lot to be desired on the rebounds considering his 6'11 frame, and at 1.6 blocks a game, he's down an entire block and a half from his defensive player of the run year last year, where he put up about 3 blocks a game. But besides that, he's been having really solid scoring outings, back-to-back 40-point performances when Ja was out. His efficiency has skyrocketed since Ja came back, just really missed that real point guard presence. So a guy whose numbers could continue improving as the season goes on now that they have the leader back out there. And, now that Ja's back, I'm just really hoping that the Memphis Grizzlies can turn their season around, as I am a big fan of this young core. But with all of that being said, Jaren lands at number 9 on today's list. And coming in at our number 8 spot, we're going to have Julius Randle of the New York Knicks, who's putting up really solid counting stats for them at about 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. But just in my opinion, I have no idea what to think of him as a basketball player. He's a guy that's extremely up and down. One day it's looking like on the backs of him and Jalen Brunson that this Knicks team, if they make the right moves, could be a really real problem in the Eastern Conference. But then the next day he has me thinking that they need to trade him for pieces to fit better around Jalen. So I'm just not exactly sure what to think about it. But regardless of that, there's one thing you can't deny about Julius Randle, and it's that man is a talented basketball player that can score at will at times. So with that being said, he lands at number 8 on today's list. And coming in at our number 7 spot, we're going to have Paulo Banca of the Orlando Magic, who is just having a really solid season for them this far, despite not taking the jump that a lot of people thought he was going to take. Putting up about 21 points, 7 rebounds, 4.5 assists on the season. He had that 42-point performance against the Cavaliers where he only ended with 1 3-pointer made. It's just really rare to see that high of a volume scoring game in today's NBA without a lot of 3-pointers made. So he was just really getting into his bag. Paulo's not a guy who I think is going to be an extremely deadly scorer in this league just because of his skill set. But once he gets more efficient and getting into his spots and stuff like that, a guy that I think could get up to about 25, 26 points per game. Sky's the limit for this kid with him only being 21 years old, so he's no doubt going to keep crawling up this list. But as of today, he ranks at number 7. Coming into our number 6 spot, we're going to have Zion Williamson, who so far in the season is putting up kind of mediocre numbers of 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. And I say mediocre just in comparison to Zion Williamson, as this is one of his lowest scoring seasons since he's entered the league. But making number 6 for Zion Williamson should be no accomplishment to him. He's a guy that has the potential, the tangible talent already that we've witnessed to be a top 3 power forward in this league. And in my opinion, he's just really letting that talent go to waste just because he's not taking basketball seriously. A guy of his stature with the athleticism that he has is just unheard of, a natural gift that he's received that he's just doing nothing with. Now, this is, of course, no hate to Zion as a person. I don't know the guy. But in my opinion, this is just a waste of basketball talent, and it's just something that I hate to see. Hopefully, he starts to take it a little bit more serious in coming seasons, coming years. Who knows at this point with his track record. But with all that being said, he ranks at number 6 on today's list. Now, before we get into this top 5, I just want to leave a reminder to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I've been putting a lot of work into the channel, and I've been really appreciating all the support that I've been getting. But without further ado, let's get into the top 5. And coming up next, our number 5 spot, we're going to have Karl-Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who so far in the season is putting up about 22 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 41% from 3 on 5 attempts, so just really showing that he's one of the best, if not the best, 3-point shooting big man in the entire league. Him and only 2 other players are averaging at least 20 points on 50, 40, 85 splits. The other 2 in that category being Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard, so just an extremely efficient bucket. And just really showing that the Twin Towers look of him and Rudy Gobert is working with the Timberwolves having a stronghold on the number 1 seed out west. And with all that being said, he ranks at number 5 on today's list. And up next, slotting in our number 4 spot, we're going to have Kristaps Porzingis of the Boston Celtics, who is just by far having one of his best seasons as a pro with them, putting up about 20 points, 7 rebounds, 35% from 3 on 5.5 attempts. So just really stretching the floor, protecting the paint, rebounding for them. It was really hard for me to decide whether I wanted to put him or Karl-Anthony Towns in this slot. But I ultimately ended up going with Kristaps just because of the role that he's playing with the Boston Celtics and the success that they've been having with him playing that role. Just really looking like what they've been needing in order to really contend for a championship. I know that the Boston Celtics have made, conference finals, the finals one time in this era of the Jays, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. But they really just needed a solidified big man, and I feel like that's exactly what Kristaps is for them. And not to mention, his production hasn't gone down, still putting up a dub, 7 rebounds. So with that being said, he ranks at number 4 on today's list. And getting into the top 3, at our 3 spot, we're going to have LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers, who so far in the season is putting up a classic LeBron stat line of 25 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, doing so on great efficiency and while being 45 years old. So it's really just great to see how, the older generation is still having an impact on today's NBA. It's almost like yesterday he was riding a dinosaur to his first NBA game. But despite all that being said, he's continuing to put up history. As we all know, one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time. Not too much to be said about him. It's still crazy that he ranks at number 3 today. But without further ado, let's get into our 2 spot. And up next, slotting in our number 2 spot, we're going to have the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant, who just as always is putting up insane numbers on insane efficiency. 30 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 51% from the field on a 30 ball, which is nuts. 47% from 3 on crazy attempts, 87% from the line. So just doing the normal Kevin Durant thing that we're accustomed to him doing. But what I primarily am going to be talking about with him today is the comments that he made with him being uncomfortable with this situation in Phoenix right now. And this is something that I feel is said best on the 520 podcast by Jeff Teague. If you haven't checked that out already, go check it out. One of the funniest podcasts of NBA media. But Jeff Teague basically said, you're a superstar. It's not often that superstars get traded. When you go to a team, it's obvious that, you're going to take their assets. So with him, not getting the production he wants from his cast, he can't really be too mad about that, as he took a lot of the supporting cast away from the Suns when he was traded there. As well as the Bradley Beal thing, Bradley Beal is a guy that is known to have, injury problems in his career. So that's a risk that you were willing to take when I assume that he greenlit that trade. I don't think that you make a trade that big without going to your superstars and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant first and asking them their opinion on it. So it's just something that he took the risk on. He took the risk coming to this Phoenix team. And it's just something that I feel like he kind of has to deal with and shouldn't really be causing media stir up, because this, if anything, just makes the whole situation worse. It causes awkwardness in the locker room, things like that. But besides that, you still can't deny the talent of Kevin Durant. He's still a bucket at 36 years old. So with that being said, he ranks at number 2 on today's list. And last but definitely not least, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks slotting in at our number 1 spot, who is putting up MVP-worthy numbers again this season of 30 points, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists on 60% field goal percentage. So again, another 30 ball on insane efficiency. He's also putting up about a steal and a half, a block and a half. So, defensive player of the year numbers as well. One of the 3 people on the planet right now that has the argument for best basketball player in the world. Those other 2 being Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Just not too much to be said about Giannis that hasn't already been said. We've never seen a player like him in the history of the NBA before, and probably never will. The combination of IQ, size, athleticism, it's just crazy, and he, mixed it all together to make almost the perfect basketball player. If he could shoot, he would be literally unstoppable. Like, there is not a single thing that you would be able to do to stop him offensively, defensively. And with that being said, he, of course, lands the number 1 spot on today's list. And that's going to do it for me, y'all. I just want to say thank you so much for watching another video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, drop a hashtag AskOTB in the comment section with any sort of NBA question, hot take, and there's a chance that it could be featured in one of these videos. The center list is going to be dropping this next week, and that'll conclude our top 10 list until probably the off season. So be on the lookout for that. Again, thank you so much for watching, y'all. I'm about to get out of here. Peace.